Hwasong-16b, HS-16b, is North Korea's hypersonic intermediate-range ballistic missile, IRBM. The Hwasong-16b has improved over its predecessor in two fundamental ways. The first is the use of solid fuel mixtures, reflecting advances in the arsenal of the Korean People's Army. The use of solid fuel allows the rocket to be stored with full fuel, and thus reduces the time needed to prepare for launch to a fraction of that of liquid-fueled rockets. This is especially important because North Korea's mobile launchers carrying ballistic missiles are expected to be priority targets for air attacks by the United States and its allies in wartime, and are also the most vulnerable target is when standing still on open ground to prepare for launch. Although ballistic missiles using solid fuel have been deployed for decades in many countries, including medium-range ballistic missiles like China's DF-26, the Hwasong-16b's second major improvement over its predecessor is much more revolutionary: the integration of a hypersonic glide vehicle, HGV, warhead. North Korea test-launched an HGV for the first time in September 2021. Now, North Korea has become the first country in the world to put HGV into operation on a medium-range missile. Although China and Russia are also equipped with HGVs, they only deploy this type of warhead on medium-range ballistic and cruise missiles such as China's DF-17, and intercontinental ballistic missiles such as the RS-28 Sarmat of Russia. The hypersonic glide warhead is capable of navigating both altitude and direction of flight, including horizontal and vertical navigation outside the atmosphere. This maneuverability, combined with speeds exceeding Mach 10 even in the final launch phase, and for long-range missiles exceeding Mach 20, creates significant difficulties for enemy air defenses. Deploying a missile like the Hwasong-16b is a potential game-changer for regional security, not least because it puts a very large area of the Pacific within range of attack within a short period of time. Very limited warning and almost impossible to intercept, but also because it has the potential to accelerate the proliferation of similar weapons in the region. Since the withdrawal from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty (INF) in 2019, the US is expected to deploy medium-range ballistic missiles and/or surface-to-surface cruise missiles in East Asia. Because the bilateral treaty between Washington and Moscow prevented the United States from deploying such missile systems, the growing missile capabilities of China and North Korea were widely seen as a key factor in the decision to withdraw from the US agreement, which allows the country to deal with China and North Korea with its own equivalent weapons. Similarly, North Korea's introduction of the world's first medium-range HGV missile is likely to push the US to deploy comparable weapons in the Pacific, and thus could prompt China to do the same. Although China has demonstrated its ability to master the necessary technologies, it has probably refrained from integrating them on a medium-range missile, or at least from doing so publicly, to avoid an arms race with the United States. Although the introduction of the Hwasong-16b was a very significant step forward, it in itself raised questions about the feasibility of building an unprecedented US missile defense system. America on Guam, but its potential impacts on regional security are much greater. With China increasingly concerned about US plans to deploy previously banned long-range missile launchers in the Central and Western Pacific region, the escalation of the HGV missile race may be even more worrying for Beijing. It should be noted that these flying warheads can also be used for anti-ship purposes, as is the case in China with the DF-17 medium-range missile, creating significant motivation for the US to develop launchers as an asymmetric response to the increasingly unfavorable balance of power at sea. Finally, while Washington's withdrawal from the INF Treaty is a major turning point for the scenario of deploying missile forces in East Asia, the appearance of the Hwasong-16b has set a new standard based on this missile's capabilities, which the world's two leading military powers will now likely seek to respond to.